he's chosen to drag effectively family matters into the public domain. And really, just if you want to leave, fine, leave, get up and go. But I think there's, you know, Meghan Markle in the background, isn't there? She seems to be pulling the strings. She loves the limelight, whether it's good limelight or bad limelight, she doesn't seem to mind.
So let's get the countdown started, Ben Habib. At number 10, the outspoken viewers have decided one of the Union Jackasses of the year is... Oh yeah, I'm happy with this one. There we go. Prince Harry. Prince Harry. And yet, do you know what, Ben? It's terrible, isn't it, the way that he can't move on. I think that's the biggest problem with Harry. It's like you left the country, you slagged off your whole family, you caused all of these troubles for the late Queen and Prince Philip. But even now, you're still attempting to sue your own father's government. It's just bizarre.
It is very sad state of affairs that he's fallen out so badly with his family and that he's chosen to drag effectively family matters into the public domain. And really, just if you want to leave, fine, leave, get up and go. But I think there's, you know, Meghan Markle in the background, isn't there? She seems to be pulling the strings. She loves the limelight, whether it's good limelight or bad limelight, she doesn't seem to mind. They get all these, programs like the one they had on Netflix. I didn't watch it. Perhaps you did. I can't think of anything worse, frankly.
Oh, yes, I did. I've watched them all. How I explain it, Ben, is I say, I watch these shows so my viewers don't have to. And I just explain... I explain what went down,
Yeah.
And they were bad. Yeah, they were really bad.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, actually. I think it's sad for the monarchy. It's sad for the country. And it's sad for him personally, because he's the most damaged individual out of it all, frankly, in my view.
He is. I mean, I don't know about you, Ben, but I've been dragged into some legal action over my career, that against my will. And it's such a horrible experience. It really dominates your life, and it's awful. And what I find so bizarre is that he is choosing to go through all of this litigation. I mean, I've actually next month, and who knows if it will actually go ahead, but he is planning to be in court versus NGN, News Group Newspapers, which is the Murdoch company which runs The Sun. And I have offered to give evidence, which they may well want me to do. And the thing is, Ben, I haven't done it because I particularly want to get involved in this, but I've done it because Harry is trying to paint a picture that all of the journalism done about him and the royal family was somehow nefarious. And honestly, from my point of view, Ben, and I've been on the record, under oath, at the Leveson inquiry, I never hacked a phone. I've never paid a private investigator. All of my journalism is completely above board. And the thing that I think Harry needs to realize is the reason that people were leaking stories, Ben, to people like me was because his behavior and the behavior of his wife was so horrendous during his time in the royal family. And remember, it was the Queen's own, or the late Queen's own personal assistant who was by her side for so much of the time that was really disturbed about their behavior. So I think it's just really almost desperate when you can't look at your own behavior and think, is there a reason why these stories are being written about me? Because you do remember, Ben, there was a time when Prince Harry was actually the most popular member of the British royal family, more popular in the YouGov polling than the Queen, which I mean seems extraordinary now, given he's very, very far down the bottom of the list.
Well, he was a young lad who'd lost his mother at a very young age, fought in Afghanistan, stood by the country, and people loved that. That's what, the average British citizen wants to see, is someone who rolls their sleeves up and gets on with it, stands shoulder to shoulder with other members of the country. And he was like one of the people. And then he became this sort of, I don't know if narcissistic is the right word, but there's an element of narcissism, an element of woe is me, an element of entitlement, which goes beyond any sense, this kind of I'm the victim, when he is so entitled, and yet he wants more entitlement. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't doesn't anyway. I can't make any sense of it. If I were in his position, can you imagine how lucky it is to be a prince of the realm? Fine, you've got to do these duties. You've got to toe the line. You've got to look the part. You're always on public display. But frankly, that's a privilege. It's not a huge burden. It's a privilege that he has the ability to be out there on the public stage, do what's right for the country, and it's a huge privilege to have all the benefits that go with it. It's not a cross that he bears. It's something that I think most patriotic British citizens would readily do themselves if they had the opportunity. And in fact, many do. You're doing it, Dan, by getting on the public stage and doing. I know you want to do it through media, others do it through direct politics. But we all carry that sort of risk of being in the public eye all the time and the scrutiny that goes with it. And yet, here he is with all the largesse that goes with being a prince, and simply, can't accept that he's in fact a very lucky guy.
Exactly. Huge privilege, huge honor, the ability to quite literally change the world if you want to, Ben. I mean, I
Yeah.
look at his mother because he keeps saying that this is what Diana would have wanted. She would have wanted this life for me. What absolute baloney. Diana never picked unnecessary rows with the media. In fact, Ben, she had a great relationship with the media. She didn't like the paparazzi and she didn't like people who wrote nasty stories about her. But on the whole, she worked a lot with newspaper editors, was very close friends with some of the people who wrote about her. And the thing about Diana, and I know some people question her legacy now, but I don't, because Diana did change the world. If you look at the issues that she was absolutely laser focused on, Ben, the scourge of bulimia, the eating disorder, which people didn't used to talk about, the fact that she made it acceptable to shake the hands of patients who had AIDS and HIV
Yeah.
in the 80s, which wasn't done. Homelessness, which is something that Prince William has taken the mantle on. And of course, in her last couple of years, bringing attention to the world of landmines and the need for
Yeah.
landmines to be cleared because they were maiming so many good people in Africa. And I just think, what's the issue that Harry can say that
Well,
he's
Harry's big
changed the
issue
world
is
with?
climate change, which he goes to these conferences in his private
Private
jet.
jets. Yeah.
And he has two Land Rovers. When he plays his polo, he flies there in a private jet and gets his Land Rovers to bring his kit for him. I mean, you couldn't make it up, really, could you?
No, maybe we'll call him Harry the Hypocrite. That might be a better name. But look, a great
Yeah.
choice. But okay, Ben, let's reveal number 9. Here we go. As I say, this is the Union Jackass of 2024. Oh, this is good. The Guardian newspaper. And I presume, Ben Habib, this was because of that ridiculous note that went out after Donald Trump was elected, where the editor of The Guardian literally offered her staff counselling because they may be
Psychiatric
so upset
assistance.
by a Democratic vote.
I
What
mean,
do
it
you
is
make of them?
extraordinary. Well, I mean, it's just extraordinary, isn't it? There's such a contempt from the left of people who don't share their views. It's why they're so readily prepared to cancel people from our side of the fence, to shut down free speech, to assume that they have absolutely established. This is where it comes from. They assume that they have established moral correctitude in all its forms, and they own it. And if we don't subscribe to their values, well, there's something very wrong with us. And thankfully, I don't subscribe to a lot of their values.
No, neither do I. I just want to go to the note because I'm going to just find this note that Catherine Viner, the editor, wrote after the days after the election, and she said, "A Trump win could reverberate for a million years. The result has been very upsetting for many colleagues. Contact your American colleagues to offer support because they will be the most directly affected. And there is also access to free services, which include a 24/7 online GP, mental health support and virtual well-being tools. I mean, full-on Trump derangement syndrome, right? But what I just find so ironic,
Yeah,
Ben, is these were the people that were talking about the need for democracy to be protected. They were so concerned that
absolutely.
if Trump had lost, he was going to challenge the result. They were so worried about that. But all of a sudden, when the Democratic vote was, let's be honest, completely overwhelming, I mean, there was no doubt about
Yeah,
this result.
popular vote.
Yep.
Got both
Every swing
houses.
state, both houses.
Yeah.
But they're mortified. It's the terrible thing. Democracy's all of a sudden a terrible thing.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to the point that I was making, that they think they've absolutely established what the truth is, what the moral correct way to behave is, what the right political narrative is, what the policy should be, and anyone who disagrees with them is wrong. And thank goodness for Trump, by the way. Thank goodness we've got a president of the most powerful country in the world that can, I hope, lead the path towards rescuing Western civilization, because that's what we are now facing, as you would have heard me say before. An existential threat, I think, across Western civilization, because of the kind of agendas that are promoted by the Democrat Party and behind which the Guardian stands. And when Trump won, I thought, I won't put out any kind of chest thumping, we won, you lost kind of, tweets or anything. But when I saw the meltdown from the left, I mean, I did put one out actually saying I was just really enjoying it. And I imagine people were enjoying it, just seeing how absurdly down in the mouth they all were.
So true. So true. And, look, Ben, after what happened to us this year in the UK, I think we deserve a bit of hope. And we can see that America might be the ones to save us from woke tyranny. Let's see. But okay, let's move on. Number 8 in the list of the biggest Union Jackasses of 2024. Ben Habib and I don't know. This is all chosen by the viewers of Outspoken. So let's have a look. Who is at number 8? Well, I call him Humza Useless. I call him Humza Useless, Ben. And this year, do you remember he said that Islamophobia might mean that he has to quit the UK. So much Islamophobia that he ended up First Minister of Scotland, right?
Yeah, someone who was lamenting the fact that there were so many white people in office. Do you remember that awful speech he made
I
about
do.
so-and-so's white, so-and-so? Can you imagine if someone who was white made a speech saying that, so-and-so's brown, so-and-so's black, so-and-so's South Asian? They'd be out of public office in 5 seconds flat. This is an awful man, frankly. I'm surprised he's as low down as 8. I'd have him much higher, closer to number 1. I think I can guess who's number 1. But this is a guy who basically pro-Hamas, wanted to give, when he was first minister, gave money to the UNRWA, known to have been complicit in the attacks on the 7th of October. And he diverted money because the Holyrood had voted for money to go, I think, to the UN more generally, or no, to UNICEF. And he overrode the decision for UNICEF and sent the money and doubled it. In fact, 100,000, more than doubled it. He took it from 100,000 to 250,000 and sent it to the UNRWA, which, as I say, was colluding with Hamas. And he stands on this podium. Again, he's part of that liberal brigade who think they've conquered moral correctitude, stands on that podium, lectures people on racism, when actually, I think he is one of the biggest racists going. He has an antipathy for the British people. He stands in opposition to this country. And why the Scots put him in as first minister, frankly, is beyond me. But anyway, thankfully, he's no longer there. He's number 8. I would have had him close to number 1. I think I know who's going to be number 1. I won't go there yet. But this is a man who, frankly, if he felt uncomfortable in the United Kingdom, I would welcome his departure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the United Kingdom has given you so many opportunities. You became First Minister. The only reason you lost your job was because you were hopeless, because you were absolutely terrible at it. And in terms of that white speech, Ben Habib, which is just clearly racist, right? And he actually made that speech before he became First Minister.
Yeah.
Well, the Scottish census 2022 shows 87.1% of the Scottish population identified as white Scottish or white other British. So doesn't it make sense that
Most people should be white.
87% of the positions are filled by people who are white?
Yeah.
It's not a shock,
Yeah,
is it?
absolutely. And who cares is the point,
Hmm.
right? Have we got the right people doing the right job? But this guy, like his counterparts in England, the Labour Party and elsewhere, um, they're obsessed with identity politics. Liberal Democrats are obsessed with identity politics. They're always banging the drum about racism when actually they're the racists. You know, his they're quite close, I think, to behold. So I think of them, when I think of Hamza Yousaf, I think automatically of Sadiq Khan. Sadiq Khan's another one. I don't want to discuss him in case he's on the list, but you know what I'm
And we
saying.
don't know. That's the thing, because I also want to talk about scheming Sturgeon, but I don't know if she's on the list. But
Yeah.
of course, Humza Yousaf was the protege of that woman. And isn't it extraordinary, Ben Habib? Any other political figure who was subjected to the type of police investigation that Sturgeon was would be under huge amounts of scrutiny. Now, look, I absolutely believe in a system where you are innocent until proven guilty. And of course, she has not been charged. There is an ongoing police investigation. Her husband has been. But don't you find it extraordinary that Sturgeon just goes on with life, signs her big book deal? No one really asks her any difficult questions. There's absolutely no desire from the mainstream media to uncover corruption within the left. Yet when it's someone on the right, oh my goodness, Boris Johnson finished off because of a piece of cake, effectively.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it comes back to the whole Guardian thing. Indeed, even Prince Harry, he's guilty of the same hijacking of he himself is hijacked. The Guardian is hijacked. They think they've got this monopoly on what's right and wrong, and so one of their own can't possibly have gone so far wrong that they deserve to be outed in the way that David Starkey was cancelled, for example.
Indeed. I mean, it's like anti-white racism is completely acceptable. Ben,
Yeah,
that's the shocking thing, because
that is.
Useless proves it. Humza Useless proves it. He is an anti-white racist. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And he's still reached the heights of First Minister of Scotland. In fact, if he'd done a half-decent job, he would still be in that role. And when he was delivering that speech, by the way, he was, of course, looking over to a leader of the opposition in the Scottish Parliament, Anas Sanwa, who is also Asian. So it seems very, very bizarre for him to suggest that there is some sort of Islamophobia, some sort of issue with Asian folk, given how well both of them had done. But there you go. Let's move on to number 7 on our list of the biggest Union Jackasses of 2024 as chosen by the viewers of Outspoken. But first, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe. In fact, there's only one day to go. I've got something way better to share with you. If you want to look sharp for your festive gatherings in the new year, maybe finally win the Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. So let's dive into the goods. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one, but 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. The skin-safe 4-blade foil for when you want that baby bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble but clean it up a bit. Both keep you looking sharp while minimizing razor burn and irritation, because nobody wants to show up to the holiday party looking like they lost a fight with a Christmas tree. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has Flex Adjust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of shaving. It's like Santa's elves made it just for you. The blades and pivoting head adjust to every curve of your face, and it's very gentle. I use it on the neck area, as if they had the gift of foresight. So go ahead, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye. No more pretending it doesn't exist while you hope nobody notices under the mistletoe. And if you want even more precision, on the right side of the bracket, there's a precision lock. When you lock it, the blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof, so you can use it right in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't just make shaving easier, it also simplifies cleanup too. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to go from Santa's beard to smooth as a snow angel. See what I did there? It even has a travel lock to help make sure you don't accidentally turn it on in your bag, and an LED spotlight to help you see every detail, ensuring nothing gets missed. So get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, all in one box. So head on over to manscaped.com. Join the over 11 million men worldwide. I'm one of them who trust Manscaped by using the code OUTSPOKEN for free shipping and 20% off. That's www.manscaped.com. Use the coupon code Outspoken at checkout. You'll get 20% off and free shipping. But now, back to the show. Oh, okay. I've just been told this is the Labour Party overall, Ben Habib. So we've got Rainer Starmer, Rachel Reeves in there. But this is actually not a human being. This is a party. And in fact, that party absolutely spat in our face this year, don't you think, Ben? Because it's them who put out a fake manifesto.
Completely. They promised they wouldn't raise taxes on the working class. They've raised taxes on the working class. There's no other way to put it. And that increase in employers' national insurance was targeted at the lowest paid. They reduced the hurdle at which national insurance applies from £9,000 per annum to £5,000 per annum, targeting the poorest in this country. And they say, well, no, the employers are going to pick up that bill. But employers only have a few levers that they can pull to afford that bill. And they are sacking people, not giving them pay rises, increasing prices for the consumer, or going bust. That is the consequence of raising employers' NI on the working class effectively. And all of that, all four consequences are bad for the working class and bad for the British economy. And what I thought was quite telling as well, without wishing to go into too much detail, is she didn't levy the increase in employers' national insurance on on government-owned bodies and public services. She sheltered the government staff from it, her own, people employed by essentially those that they wish to keep in employment, but she exposed the private sector. And the private sector, in case Rachel Reeves hasn't really cottoned onto it yet, Rachel from accounts hasn't cottoned onto it, it's the private sector that produces the wealth of this country. So, I mean, it was a terrible budget, and we are now heading, I think, towards a recession. And if we get into a recession, I think the OBR is going to regret having reluctantly endorsed her budget, because we could find that the country faces a financing issue, a balance of payments problem, and the government can't finance itself. Because buried within that budget, notwithstanding the tax increases, was a massive increase in spending. She talked about the 22 billion, black hole, but she's made it much worse by piling on the expenditure. As we know, the unions were all pandered to. They were all given, inflation busting salary increases. And the doctors, the train drivers, the train drivers, for goodness sake, they were well paid anyway, and so on and so forth. So they completely failed on the manifesto pledges. But I think more significantly, they are seriously damaging the country. We've talked about the economy, but of course, constitutionally, they're terrible for the country. Keir Starmer is clearly taking us back as close as he can to the European Union. He was caught on camera before he became Prime Minister saying that is exactly what he would do. And some viewers may know that he's also effectively going to give up control of our own defences to Brussels. He wants us to join the European Defence Union. That would be terrible for our sovereignty as a country. And then, of course, we come to the whole border issue, where they're so weak. Their approach to illegal migration is effectively to give everyone in this country who got here illegally an amnesty and settle them in the country. That's what's going to happen under Labour. And that's why I call the Labour Party, particularly Keir Starmer and those in the cabinet, anti-British, because all their policies are damaging to the United Kingdom, its sovereignty, our democracy, which we can touch on as well if you want, our economy, and of course our culture. You've got Labour Party MPs getting up in Parliament and effectively asking for a reintroduction of blasphemy laws. I mean, which
Yes.
century are we in? And
Which
Keir
Starmer
Starmer
did
didn't slap him
not
down.
rule out.
No, he didn't rule it out. So we're seeing a very, very bad direction of travel for the country at the moment under this Labour government. And again, surprising that there is low down the ranking is 7, because the damage they're doing is massive.
Yeah,
And it should not be underestimated.
And Ben, look, I know you mentioned democracy, right? How can anyone have faith in our system when it is possible for a major political party to egregiously lie in their manifesto, be elected, and offer no real justification?
Yeah, it is wrong, absolutely. And maybe we do need to maybe there needs to be a reform of electoral law to ensure that parties actually, if they are elected, because we do have a first past the post system. It's not like they have to form a coalition. Labour has the reins.
Yeah,
It's
they
not
can
pandering.
do it.
They can do what they want. So maybe the law should be changed and there should be punitive sanction if you break the promises you made in order to get elected.
Well, I had Godfrey Bloom on a couple of weeks ago, and he said it could just be utilised under existing contract law. Make the manifestos contracts, and if the party in power doesn't implement them, then they can be sued. But I do feel like maybe there is something to be said for legally binding manifestos. Of course, there'd have to be some wriggle room, situations change, but I mean, they don't change within weeks. And
No.
look, I still think Labour would have won this election regardless, Ben Habib. People were so fed up, rightly, with the destruction that the Conservatives were bringing to our country. However, if they had gone to the public with an honest manifesto about what they were really going to do, tax increases, removal of the winter fuel allowance, screwing over farmers, the list goes on, I think it would have been a much more competitive vote, put it that way, and that would have been good for democracy. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.